if there are side effects to the vaccine, we should talk about it, but we shouldn't posture and pretend as though we are being faced with two comparably dangerous options, because that is just not the case. Come here, Jimmy Dore. I feel like we've been talking too much about Jimmy Dore lately, but I can't ignore a Joe Rogan appearance. We're gonna get on you one day, Jimmy. Wait, not Jimmy. Joey. Gonna get on you.
The Joe Rogan experience.
So what about, can we talk about ivermectin?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I covered it, what they did in Mexico City, and ivermectin seems to be a drug that not only treats it, but it will prevent you from getting it.
I think we need studies. We need legitimate studies, and I don't know how that happens, because the problem with this argument, this conversation is, you know, you'll have people saying, I've used this on my patients, like Dr. Pierre Corey, who's been on this podcast, and I 100% believe him, and I support him, and I'm not saying that he's not telling the truth. The problem is, I think in order to state something emphatically, like this is what we need to do, this is the best treatment, we need studies. Right? This is the only way you find out. And, well, who's going to fund these studies?
Who's going to fund a study?
And the problem is it's a generic drug.
That's it. No one wants it.
It's a drug that's been around for 40 years, has a long history of use. And also, there's a difference between using it as a prophylactic, so using it as a preventative measure, which is one of the things that Dr. Pierre Corey talked about on this podcast. I forget where they used this, but it was there was hundreds of doctors, and then there was a percentage of them that used ivermectin as a prophylactic, and there's a
large ivermectin study retracted. Preprint publisher finds evidence of plagiarism, problems with raw data. This is from 8 days ago. A large Egyptian study of ivermectin for COVID-19 patients has been retracted over concerns of plagiarism and serious concerns with their raw data. One of the most frustrating things with right-wing conspiracies about medical issues is that you see a really common cycle. The cycle is right-wing politicians will start to fearmonger over something, and then hack doctors will start pushing out really, really, really bad research in order to post hoc justify the claims of the politicians. And then after like 5 days, the medical research gets retracted because it's terrible, and then the politicians complain about censorship because the research was retracted. This happens all the time with trans stuff. It's like, they retracted this study, and it's like, yeah, because the study was dog shit. Like, it was bad. It was bad research. That's why they retracted it. And they only put that research out because they were trying to give you something to talk about, you know?
Percentage that did not. The percentage that did not, half of the doctors, roughly, or half of the healthcare workers got COVID. The percentage that did use it as a prophylactic, 100% did not get it. Now, I don't know if they got lucky. This is why you need a large study, and it's a long-term study. Maybe, I don't know, what was their job different than the people who got it? I don't know. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So when I'm a fucking comedian and a cage fighting commentator. When I'm talking about very important issues, I have to hedge.
Yes, with Jimmy Dore here, we have two people with absolutely no medical expertise on one of the largest podcasts in the world talking about COVID-19 medication.
My opinions on these things.
I know.
It's tricky.
But in an environment where people aren't allowed to talk or question things, you know.
Okay, so this is something Jimmy Dore has been saying lately, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys, okay? I have never seen a person complain about the long-term side effects of the COVID-19 vaccine without them opening their statement with, "I'm not allowed to talk about this," but like every time they're trying to silence this, but like every single time it's some grandstanding virtue signal where they're trying to talk like there's some kind of brave free speech warrior. You can talk about the COVID-19 vaccine symptoms and side effects all you want, my dude. You just can't lie about it. That's what people get mad about. And also, what people get mad about is the implications, okay? So, as far as we can tell, and by that I mean there's overwhelming 100% evidence of this, COVID-19 is far, far worse than the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccination. COVID-19 is far more severe, far deadlier, by an overwhelming amount. far more likely for there to be negative symptoms than the COVID-19 vaccination. You would much rather get the vaccination than COVID-19. So if you were to say, I unfortunately have been having negative side effects from the COVID-19 vaccination, and while I still think everyone should get their shot, like this is just something you should be aware of, that's fine, okay? The problem is that people like Jimmy Dore have been acting like free speech warriors who are getting censored by the establishment for making statements about the COVID-19 vaccination, which leave open the interpretation that you shouldn't get vaccinated at all, which is a highly irresponsible point to make, you know? Like, if you're like, yeah, COVID-19 vaccination has side effects too, that they're not letting you speak about. Like, the implication from that is that you shouldn't get vaccinated, which is an irresponsible message. That's what people get mad about. It's not that you can't talk about this. You just have to be responsible.
Well, for instance, my doctor. So when I got the vaccine, I got the double. And
which one did you get?
I got the Moderna because I have an underlying health problem. I don't want, and I've talked about it before on the show.
We have talked about it, yeah.
And so my doctor, because people are like, why did you trust the government? No, I don't trust the government. You trust Big Pharma? No, I don't trust Big Pharma. I trusted my doctor.
Right.
My doctor who saved my life and said that because of your thing, you should get it because we don't know how it's going to affect you and you blah, 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 blah. So
Wait, hold on. Couple of points here. When it comes to big contagion pandemic stuff like this, why wouldn't you trust the government? Isn't it in the government's best interest to get rid of the pandemic? Like, is there a reason not to? I mean, like, is there any reason why the CDC's word on this, like, shouldn't be listened to? I get it. You're so cool and, like, anti-authoritarian. You're so distrustful of the government. You're so based in red pill, my dude. But, like, it's the job of the CDC to prevent stuff like this from happening. Is this, like, a microchips thing? Like, you don't trust the government to not put microchips in their tiny little vaccination needles? What are we going on about here? What alternative hypothesis? Or do you think they, like, rushed it out? In which case it's a question about, like, mRNA testing, which is a complicated whole new way of developing vaccines. But, I mean, it passed the guidelines for its production.
got it. And then, I just, the symptoms you get from it, they never went away for me.
What were your symptoms?
So I had body aches, flu-like fever.
Humming,
I had joint pain.
pissing,
I had a stiff
farting.
neck.
Have you tried going in an ice bath for 20 minutes? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long did it?
Yeah, I'm still cold. I'm
just warming up now. It's fucking 2 hours in this podcast.
I can tell.
Is when you? How long did it last? How long did your symptoms last?
So on April 17th, I got the second jab, and I just never got better.
Was it immediate? Before after the first jab, did you have side effects?
Yeah.
Vosh, nanotech currently is literally impossible. Why the fuck do you even get chips inside your bloodstream without white blood cells destroying them? Okay, the thing is, why are people so stupid with their conspiracy theories? Like, Edward Snowden already leaked a ton of stuff about how our data is being stolen and tracked by the government. Why don't you focus on real shit like that instead of fake made up shit like, yeah, the government secretly developed some hyper sophisticated technology that they somehow secretly put in millions of vaccine doses around the country that nobody noticed, and nobody has managed to find the vaccine chip anywhere in the bloodstream afterwards, in spite of no doubt many people trying, I promise you. And they were all doing this as part of some secret plot to control you and find out where you are, except you can already do that. Also, there's no way that you could have a tracking chip that's small. We already know how small tracking chips can get. You know why? We put them in our pets. And trust me, they're not going to fit in the fucking vaccine needles that they use for COVID-19. So, or are you saying there's like a secret government facility where they manufactured literally billions of high-tech nano trackers that have infinite battery life in spite of them being small enough to fit in an unbelievably small needle, and they're doing this to track your movement when everyone has a smartphone anyway? It's like, this is so stupid. Like, the government invented alien tech? Well, if they have that kind of technology, why don't they just use fucking DNA scanners from orbit or something? Like, if we're making up technology, then why don't they just have, like, a micro universe and like a little fucking chamber that they observe to watch everyone move like pieces on a chessboard? Like, if we're making stuff up, then we can do a little bit better than they managed to somehow sneak billions of tiny high-tech sci-fi microchips into a decentralized vaccination network. Did nobody notice this? Has nobody thought to like scan the contents of a vaccine? How exactly do they manage to get one nanochip in per vaccine shot? Do they instruct all of the thousands of people around the country who are administering these shots how exactly to make sure there's only one cell? Are there multiple cells per person? How has nobody found these things? It's like, it's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, but they went away. And then the second jab.
How long did they last after the first shot?
I don't remember, but because
a couple days.
Yeah, it was like maybe a week. I think a week. And then the second time they just never went away, and I was like, "What is going on?" Because I would get these waves of exhaustion a couple times a day, and then my producer had the same stiff. At the fifth week, I got a stiff neck. He got a stiff neck, and my wife got a stiff neck, and we all got the stiff neck on the side where we got the shot. So I got it on this side, they got it on that side. And then I looked it up, and it turns out stiff neck is a thing that people experience from the jab. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. They don't tell you that. And so that's common. I'm like, okay. And then it spread to the whole.
Yeah, they do. Why would you lie about that? I think, does muscle pain count? Maybe they don't specifically say stiff neck, but I was told that the COVID-19 vaccine does potentially have side effects, yeah. Even from the beginning, weren't they saying that the COVID-19 vaccine has the potential for, like, long-term side effects, but, like, much more, very diminished compared to COVID-19, you know? Like, I think I remember that. Like, right when the vaccines were being developed, it was like, there is a potential that this will cause long-term side effects. I think I remember that, you know? I don't remember anyone using the term stiff neck specifically, but...
Whole neck. Okay. Now, my producer and my wife, they went away. Their stiff necks went away. Mine didn't. So anyway, I tweeted about it. I tweeted like, hey, this is just to let everybody know, this is what's happened. This is my reaction to the vaccine.
Yeah.
And because when people started to come on me, like call me anti-vax, and
Right.
I'm like, no, I got the vax.
Right.
I got it. I go, when
Wait,
people...
hold on. You can be, first of all, everyone in media has gotten the vaccine, including Joe Rogan and everyone at Fox News, because they know that it's a serious problem, even if they'll lie to other people. So you getting the vax doesn't mean that you can't be, is this the tweet he's referring to? Yeah, I think I remember this. Update, got my second Moderna shot, 4/17, have had body and joint pain, general flu-like symptoms ever since, most recently experiencing wicked stiff neck on the same side of the shot. This is over a month now. So the problem with this, and to be charitable here, I don't think this necessarily indicates intentional grifting or whatever. I don't actually believe that. But like, when you're in an environment where there are people all over media constantly trying to fearmonger about the vaccine, and it's really essential that people get the vaccine, it probably would have done good to have a follow-up tweet saying, you know, you should get the vaccine. There is a small chance of side effects, but like, it's still very important we beat this virus or something. I think that would have fixed it right there, right? I mean, because this just comes off like it could be an implicit suggestion to not get the vaccine. Yeah, I don't know.
People have a reaction to an experimental vaccine that is not FDA approved. You're supposed to not suppress the reactions. You're supposed to...
They're not suppressing the reactions. Also, experimental vaccine that is not FDA approved is a pretty fear-mongering way of responding to this. So the mRNA process is new, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the vaccine is experimental. It's very effective, and it was well tested. mRNA vaccine development is just faster than traditional methods of developing vaccines. The reason why it hasn't been subject to the same FDA approval is because they had to bypass those restrictions to get it out quickly, which is, by the way, something that Trump pushed for. Yeah, it's been approved for FDA emergency use. FDA approval takes a longer time, but Trump is the one who pushed past that. It was one of the few good things that he did. Here's a page on it. Emergency use is basically, we haven't like done a 25-year trial test on this, but we need to do it like right now. See, development, emergency use authorization, and FDA approval. FDA approval requires testing and then approval, whereas the FDA emergency use authorization gets large amounts of production alongside testing and then approval for emergency use authorization. It's basically just like an expedited process for pushing this out, you know? Yeah, mRNA technology has been developed for a long time, but it seems like a really cool thing, you know? Keep in mind, vaccines used to take like 5 years to make, right? We got this one out in a year. Isn't that cool? Can you imagine if we weren't able to get a COVID vaccine out within like 5 years?
Ask people what their reactions are so we can make the vaccines better.
That's a thing that when Jen Psaki's talking about misinformation online and combating misinformation, she distributed misinformation.
Of course.
Because she said that it's approved by the FDA and their gold standard.
She said that?
She said that.
It is not approved. When you go to get the
You can
vaccine,
pull that up. Let's make sure that she said that. I'm 99% positive she said that, because I remember reading that going, you can't say that when you're the White House press secretary, because that's not a true statement. It's approved for emergency use authorization.
Okay.
Because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
That's
we're in an emergency.
yes.
Well,
But
that is approval by the FDA. It's an expedited process, but that is approval by the FDA. I can't speak to the specific language that she used, but
not an FDA approved.
Joe, when you go get this jab, they give you a piece of paper.
wait,
and
what's the name of the press secretary again? I just want to. Are they like just completely lying about this? Psaki, yeah, Psaki. Vaccine FDA approved. Let's see if we can find anything. They said gold star approval, right? They're going to show it. Okay.
on it in bold black letters, it says this is not an FDA approved vaccine.
Right.
And they go, you see that? And I'm like, yeah. They go, you okay with that? Yeah, I guess. My doctor said I'm supposed to be here. And
Did you
so
find it?
Yeah, I found the transcript of it. I didn't find the video.
Well,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I saw the video, but I definitely have read the transcript, and I want this to be accurate because it's a big accusation.
This is what she said here when someone asked about the misinformation.
What is this from?
Right.
Whitehouse.gov.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a reputable
so
source.
you know more than
on
just competition
the
about
press
vaccines,
secretary.
risk, impact.
Hold on, let me read this. Okay, hold on. Just so you know, there is more than just competition about vaccines. The risk and impact that there is this type of information magnifies, the risk of potential side effects associated with Western vaccines. That is what some of this misinformation is doing, and misleads the public by falsely alleging the mRNA vaccines are untested and thus risky, even though many of them are approved and have gone through the gold standard of the FDA approval process. So the gold standard of the FDA approval process, I will admit the language there could potentially be a little misleading. I mean, emergency use approval and regular approval are kind of semantically close in this case. I think she could have been more clear with her language. I think the press secretary should be held to a high standard. I don't see what this has to do with the broader point, though, Wait, hold on. Oh, the quartering is watching the stream. Vasha said even though Jimmy Dore got the vaccine, he's still anti-vax. Ha 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 ha, big brain. The quartering, I know that you making fun of you is literally ableism. But just so you know, I said that a person can still be anti-vax despite getting the vaccine. Everyone who's anti-vax in big media has gotten the vaccine because they're liars. I don't necessarily know if Jimmy Dore is anti-vax. I think he's irresponsible with his language. But that's pretty much the extent of what I've said. Chat, can you back me up on that? I didn't misspeak, did I? I did say it wasn't that he's anti-vax, it's that his language can be construed as anti-vax, and also that getting the vaccine and being anti-vax are not mutually exclusive. Confirmed? No, I did not? All right, cool. Nice. Good to know. I'm not wasting any time or thought on this dumbass.
Okay, here it is. Misleads the public by falsely alleging that mRNA vaccines are untested and thus risky, even though many of them are approved and have gone through the gold standard of the FDA approval process. That's right. That's not true.
So she's saying many of the mRNA vaccines.
Right. There's only two that are mRNA vaccines. That's messenger RNA. That is the Pfizer and the Moderna. That's the ones that we use in America. The Johnson & Johnson it's an adenovirus vaccine. It's different, as is the AstraZeneca, right? The AstraZeneca, I believe, is very similar to the Johnson & Johnson. They're different. But the point is...
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson uses the old technology and the...
Wait, yeah, is she talking about mRNA vaccines in general? Misleads the public by falsely alleging that mRNA vaccines are untested and thus risky, even though many of them are approved. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. This is a semantic where I didn't even recognize this. This, she's not talking just about specifically these two. How many mRNA vaccines have gotten full FDA approval? How many mRNA vaccines have gotten FDA approval? If it's about mRNA vaccines generally, then her statement is completely correct. Because there are mRNA vaccines that have gotten... I'm trying to see if I can find a list of previous mRNA vaccines that have passed FDA approval. Let me see. Is there a list of like FDA approved vaccines? How many of theirs would there be? Vaccines licensed for use in the United States. Well, there's a decent amount. A lot of them are variants on the same basic thing. Doesn't say whether or not they're mRNA. I'm pretty sure no mRNA vaccines have ever gotten full approval. Is that true? It's actually kind of important that we figure that out, because that's, if she's correct in that statement, then this goes from like kind of irresponsible to just being an unimpeachably correct statement. No other mRNA vaccine has received full approval to date. Ah, is that true? Uh-oh. Looks like we're going back to the irresponsible bid. Moderna and Pfizer would be the first mRNA vaccines to receive emergency use authorization. No other mRNA vaccine has received FDA approval to date. Okay, then I would say, okay, unless there's some edge case here that I'm not aware of, then I would say her statement is pretty irresponsible. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Again, this is the thing. This is one of the things that I love about not being like a super crazy partisan hack like Charlie Kirk or whatever. It's that if somebody on the Democratic Party does something wrong, it's so easy for me to say that they did wrong. Like, it's so easy, you know? It's effortless. Unless there's some edge case here, like some mRNA vaccine that's previously achieved a full FDA approval. Whatever. Yeah. It could be she's saying that the process of mRNA vaccine development itself has received a gold standard by the FDA, but not any specific vaccine. There are a lot of ways to interpret the statement. Let's just move forward. I think we've analyzed this a bit too much.
There's the ones that we use in America. The Johnson & Johnson is it's an adenovirus vaccine. It's different, as is the AstraZeneca, right? The AstraZeneca, I believe, is very similar to the Johnson & Johnson. They're different. But the point is...
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson uses the old technology, and Moderna and Pfizer, they use the ones that were developed by DARPA.
Yeah, but the point is, it's like, it's not FDA approved.
No, because that takes a while.
So if she's saying that, right, this is...
Isn't that misinformation?
It is.
Seems like it.
And if it says it when you get the jab, and it says it in bold print, and so your experience, even though you this is your personal experience and you did get vaccinated, people...
Oh my God. Dude, I'm sorry. This is just so indicative of like the standard of truth-telling in right-wing communities. After the quartering treats, within like 2 seconds, this guy made a meme. Jimmy Dore still has stiff neck from taking his second vaccine dose. Jimmy Dore is an anti-vaxxer. Wait until I tell my socialist buddies about this. And it's so weird because you can see in real time how like they don't care about anything, like whether or not it's true. Like they don't actually care like any standard whatsoever that their jokes align with reality. They just take it and they run with it. It's not even a nuanced point. It's that I literally didn't say the thing, you know? It's not even nuance. Nuance would be if I said Jimmy Dore was an anti-vaxxer, but because of some like specific quirk of how he said a thing, not just because of him reporting the effects of his second vaccine dose. This is just them being factually incorrect, you know? Confidently enough to make bad memes about it too. All right.
People are so rabid online about this.
Oh my God.
It is the most divisive subject, I think, ever since Trump. It really is. It is a nutty, divisive subject. And people just get furious about it. And they're furious if anybody talks about any negative side effects, even if it's...
Nah, this is horseshit, Joe. And the whole reason this vaccine thing is a politically divided crisis is because of the Republican Party. The antagonism is not being spawned by people angry about other people reporting vaccine side effects. Okay? That is not what is causing this.
Accurate.
I know. So I had tweeted about it just because I wanted to see if other people had this experience.
Right.
And, you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not. So I got contacted by lots of people. Same experience. And I got contacted by a doctor who's leading a bunch of other doctors, a group of doctors, and studying this. And they just submitted a paper on people about the vaccine, right? And so he tells me over a DM.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but at least with my friends and stuff, everyone bitched about the side effects. Like, I knew people who had really severe side effects from the vaccine. They talked about it all the time on social media and in person. They were bitching about it nonstop. Oh, I got the vaccination. Holy shit, I can't move my body. I feel so sick, blah, blah. Everyone felt comfortable talking about it because they talked about it in a way that didn't imply they would have rather not gotten the vaccine. The problem isn't people complaining about the vaccine side effects. I want that stuff to be more well-researched. It's the problem is people like kind of implicitly furthering the narrative that you shouldn't get the vaccine when you should.
This is what we think is happening. This is a spike protein. You're suffering from a spike protein thing and blah, blah, blah. And go to see your doctor, and hopefully your doctor will work with us and give me ivermectin and fluvoxamine I'm taking for inflammation in my brain.
You have inflammation in your brain?
Well, that's because it causes inflammation.
We
so
knew
the
that.
spike proteins cause inflammation. And so they did some kind of blood test on me, and they said, yeah, you got the thing.
Was it a D-dimer test? Is that what it was?
Joe, you got me. But
Okay.
they said, you look, you have the same. You're right where a long haul COVID person is. Like whatever the markers were, I had the same thing. You're right there. And so I go to my doctor, and I start to explain to my doctor about what this other doctor told me, and my doctor says, "Oh, I'm treating 5 people just like you, and one of them is a neurosurgeon, and one of them is a nurse." And they were afraid to talk about their symptoms because...
So again, like, I can't take this seriously because this is how every single conspiracy theory spreads. Every single one of them. Yeah, despite the overwhelming data on this subject, I talked to some people and they were all like doctors, you know, and behind the scenes, they weren't afraid to admit the truth, which is that the vaccines are really bad. But in public, they're afraid to say it. But in private, they said it to me, you know? A doctor's literally not allowed to say this shit by HIPAA. He's lying. No, it's just, I mean, HIPAA violations do happen. But the point that I'm getting at here is just like, if you want to talk about like the relative danger of the vaccine, you have to look at the data, okay? How many people in America have gotten vaccinated? Let me find out, okay? USA vaccinations, like how many people in total? 161 million. Good numbers, okay? And how many COVID cases in America? In total. About 35 million. So, despite the number of vaccinations being about 5 times the number of COVID cases have over 500,000 deaths attached to them, whereas vaccines, as far as we can tell, have none. So, we're talking about if the degree to which the vaccine is less potentially harmful than COVID is almost immeasurable. If there are side effects to the vaccine, we should talk about it, but we shouldn't posture and pretend as though we are being faced with 2 comparably dangerous options, because that is just not the case. You have to consider there are lots of undetected COVID cases which are undetected because they're very mild. I mean, I guess you could say that about any medical data, but you would have to distort the numbers immeasurably past the population of the United States, past the population of the world, to get these deaths even within a few, like, exponential values of each other, you know? It's over 500,000 deaths to COVID. How many people have died of the vaccine?
Because they were afraid to be ostracized and stigmatized. And I'm like, what a messed up
Strange.
situation we're in this culture.
Right.
When they politicize medicine, where doctors and medical professionals are afraid to talk about their symptoms.
Damn. Oh, look at the fake outrage. Look at politicizing medicine. I wonder who did that. I wonder who did that, you know? I can't take anyone making this claim seriously unless they are willing to point out that this is a highly partisan development.
That's horrible.
It's also putting people in a position where big pharma is the good guy now.
Yeah.
Which has never happened before.
Never.
And especially the exact same companies that people were openly criticizing in the past and pointing out lawsuits that they've lost for hiding information about test results, about things that have happened during studies. And these same people are now ignoring any possible side effects.
Nobody's ignoring. The side effects are listed on the CDC's website. Also, okay, this point is incredibly low IQ for a few reasons. First of all, the argument that this is making Big Pharma out to be the heroes when they're normally a bad guy is only a problem if you have the brain of a person who exclusively watches Marvel movies, okay? Wow, Big Pharma's normally a bad institution, but they also produce drugs which are good. Do you have this crisis every time you get aspirin? Like, every time you go to a store and you buy aspirin and you're like, the pharma industry is bad, but I have a headache. The moral conundrum is driving me insane. What are you talking about? You can have pharma can be a bad institution politically, but also produce drugs and vaccines which are good. This is not difficult. Second of all, if you don't want to thank the government, then why don't you thank, or sorry, if you don't want to thank Big Pharma, why not thank the government researchers who worked tirelessly for years to produce mRNA vaccine types? The mRNA process was produced through public funding. If you want to celebrate anyone, why not celebrate the public workers who tirelessly built the new model of vaccines? That's good, right? That's a cool thing that you could do. Like, what is this conundrum? What is this?
It's nuts. So I mean, how do we make it better? How do we know maybe some people? I mean, that suppression of data is not the way you improve a vaccine.
What suppression of data? Do you notice how they haven't even made any claims about the suppression of data? They've just jumped to assuming that it's true. What suppression of data are you referring to? What? Where? What are you referring to? I knew some doctors and they said they were scared to speak out. What are you... Where? Like, you're making a conspiratorial claim. Who's suppressing the data? The Democratic Party? The CDC? Joe Biden? This is a highly conspiratorial claim, and it's being made like you haven't supported this with any premises.
Vaccine. The suppression of people's symptoms and data, that is not, and in anything, it's not how it works.
Where?
That's how they want it to work because of Trump. Because if you say, it's just...
Yeah, that's right. They're suppressing the data because they hate Trump. So he hates the politicization of the vaccine, but that's not the Republican Party's fault. But actually, the problem here is that Democrats have Trump derangement syndrome, you know?
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Even that hydrochloroquine, right? That, remember,
hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine that Trump was touting, and they were like, he's nuts because he's touting it. I didn't know anything about it. But then all of a sudden studies came out that say, hey, no, that actually has been helping. So now we have contradicting studies.
Isn't this literally not true? Like, wasn't there a big study, there was a big French study that ended up saying that, like, this is neutral to bad for hydroxychloroquine? It was a big French study, right? Also, if hydroxychloroquine is so good, why didn't Trump take it? Why did he not take that? Really makes you wonder. This is literally, like, again, like, this is just the same old conspiracy bullshit, you know? They literally had to stop that study because it was killing people. Oh, that's right. There was a study on hydroxychloroquine they had to stop because it was killing the patients. The only reason that Jimmy Dore is backing hydroxychloroquine here is because he hates the Democratic Party. That's literally it, by the way. The only reason he's saying this is because it contributes to a narrative of the Democrats all being hysterically opposed to Trump no matter what. He doesn't actually care. He hasn't looked into any of the data or research. It's like, didn't recently on Jimmy Dore's show he say that new evidence has come out that AOC owned the bar that she worked for, which is like provably untrue, but he just said it because it made her sound like some like preppy bougie girl and not like a hardworking like waitress or whatever. They just like say it, just whatever, just can say whatever, you know, can throw at any point they want. Here's from the National Institute of Health. Hydroxychloroquine does not benefit adults hospitalized with COVID-19. At day 14, those who received hydroxychloroquine and those who received a placebo had a similar health status, with most participants in the group discharged from the hospital and able to perform a range of activities. The number of participants in both treatment groups who died at day 14 were similar. At day 28, 25 of the 241 patients in the hydroxychloroquine group and 25 of 236 patients in the placebo group had died. They found that hydroxychloroquine is not effective for the treatment of COVID-19, and it was consistent across patient subgroups and for all evaluated outcomes.
Right? It was a Newsweek. I wasn't making it. I didn't pull it out of some crazy thing. It's establishment mainstream news thing. I'm pretty sure it was Newsweek. And
Newsweek? If you want, like, good information on medical stuff, you should probably go to the actual study or to medical journals on the study and not onto news people reporting on the study, because news people reporting on the study will sensationalize anything and everything they can. They'll do whatever, you know? Here's the latest episode from Sam Harris's podcast, Not Cringe for Once, with an expert that debunks a lot of the anti-vax talking points. Oh, that's nice. Got to get in there every once in a while, you know?
I tweeted it out and I said, hey, can we stop? Now, can we stop politicizing medical science? Can we get back to just doing medical science again and asking questions?
Again, the audacity of complaining about the politicization of medical science and only calling out the Democrats is insane to me. That is unbelievable to me.
How much did Trump do on the one conversation he had? Maybe do something like cleaning, something with you.
So much
use,
damage.
You do
put
like
bleach right in the.
It's
so,
like
it's so
light.
much damage.
You could kill it with light. It's gonna be a miracle. Like that one thing where people are like, what the fuck is? Because he was riffing.
Yes,
he was clearly
He's
riffing.
Clearly riffing.
He didn't prepare for this. He probably just got done eating a fucking double cheeseburger, and he's like.
Yeah, and then the entire Republican Party continued to push for hydroxychloroquine, even though none of them used it and none of them actually cared. They only did it just because Trump said it. Like, that's it. The only reason Republicans kept defending hydroxychloroquine is because Trump said it one time, like, offhandedly, and people they just need to, like, defend anything and everything he does because they're incapable of criticizing their president, you know? But they were wrong. Like, hydroxychloroquine doesn't help with COVID. That's why people don't take it. That's why Trump didn't take it, you know?
Because
he's a salesman. He's just a big...
But because he's so divisive, like, everyone is still...
No, he was just wrong.
It's almost like... Do you know, like, if you got in a...
Yeah, notice how earlier they were criticizing Biden's press secretary for spreading misinformation, but now they're, like, laughing about how Trump is just like, dude, whatever. He was just the president. He just, like, offhandedly said it. The libs got so triggered by it, dude. Whatever. I fucking hate these people.
Fight with someone.
He likes
like
to
maybe your
riff.
neighbor,
He's just a
and then you got in
salesman.
your car and there was a road incident. And you're like, get the fuck out of here. You're already so ramped up.
Yeah.
Because of the fight you got in with your neighbor.
Yeah.
This is what the whole country's like.
That's a great analogy.
That's what it's like. It's like the whole country just got in a fight with the neighbor. Like he's putting his trash can on your lawn. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you fuck. Keep him on your own side, you piece of shit. And then you're in your car. Fuck! And this is like the whole country is like at 8. Out the door. Out the door.
This is like the apex of mediocre political commentary, with people who generally side with right-wing perspectives complaining that everyone's so angry these days, defending misinformation from the right, but condemning misinformation from the left. And the misinformation from the left was like misspeaking about the type of approval from the FDA on the mRNA process. And the misinformation here is the president just randomly recommending desperate people during a pandemic an ineffective treatment that can be dangerous. Like, but they don't care about that one, you know? Explain why Jimmy Dore is such an aggressive Trump defender? Because he's on the right. That's it. Jimmy Dore is an RT shill, okay? Just like all the other types on that side. And by shill, I mean, like, he pushes their talking points. I don't know if he's paid by anyone. But, like, he's in the RT block, okay? His exclusive goal is to be on the left and to push people to the right, which he will do by, hey, by the way, you ever wonder why Jimmy Dore types are always saying, like, we need Medicare for all. Let's protest against AOC. Is that really the person that you need to be protesting against right now? Not moderate Dems, not centrists, not Republicans. AOC, literally the most likely people to push for Medicare for all. That's the group that you're going to select as the wall you're going to line on. Jimmy Dore never talks about how Republicans don't support M4A. That's correct. He doesn't criticize Republicans. He just doesn't do it. And he'll attack Democrats every chance that he gets. His goal is to take disaffected, angry, nihilistic, left-leaning people and to make them think that the obstacle to real, like, progress is all the people who are actually affecting it, or at least trying to, and to get them to ignore all the problems with, like, the right, you know? There's a reason why recently Jimmy Dore did a segment defending critical race theory and his dislikes were like 50-50, you know? Seriously, it's really funny. Let me see if I can find it really quick. It speaks to his audience, okay? The only people who are on this, like, critical race theory hysteria bent, you know? The only people that are on that like crazy, oh my God, it's destroying our kids. It's like Republicans, you know? Those are the people, they're people on the right. Those are the people who are freaking out about this. But Jimmy Dore, like, doesn't share their hysteria about it, and 50-50 like dislike. This isn't like a group of disaffected progressive lefties who are upset with the Democratic Party. It's just conservatives. That's the big lie that he tries to push, that his audience is like a group of, like, Yeah, you know, we're like holding the Democrats to account. No, you're not. You're just Republicans. Wait, this is in the comments. TYT level analysis there, Jimmy. Sorry, you're off in this topic. That whole line, CRT is just a legal theory, is similar fiction of Antifa is just an idea. Oh, so the comment section's anti-Antifa as well. Crazy. Here's the cope. Every once in a while, Jimmy Dore makes a video that's a total flop with people on the left and the right. This is clearly one of those videos. The like to dislike ratio proves it. Dog, left-leaning people aren't disliking this video. It's right-leaning people. Yeah, both the left and the right are mad at this. You can tell. It's the right. Jimmy, fear more about, like, the K through 12 thing. All the bad guys in slavery were white. Even if discussing America's history of slavery, that statement is still factually incorrect. 99% of them were white. True. Are you seriously endorsing CRT, or is this a parody? Serious question. Like, this is a miss. Like, the whole thing! Never thought I'd see Jimmy Dore taking points from Joy Ann Reid. For a group of disaffected left-leaning people, these guys sure do seem to really, really, really hate anti-racism.
Or in their car already at 8 and a scale 1 to 10. They're already ready to go. And so whether it's the vaccine or whether it's the border wall or whether it's kids in cages or what the fuck, whatever it is, everybody's so goddamn angry. And
I wonder why people would be angry about the border wall and the pandemic and kids in cages.
Ready to go. And then you deal with the economic crisis that a giant percentage of the country just went through over the past year, and then losing loved ones to this fucking disease and all this chaos and and so many people who have never experienced like high levels of adversity, and all of a sudden they're confronted with it. If you've played it safe your whole life, you've really never done anything risky, never taken any chances, you've had a regular life with a regular job, you play it safe, and then all of a sudden now you're fucked and you're confronted with a perhaps deadly disease that might take you out, and you got all these other problems in the world, and everybody's like, and they don't have the coping skills. They don't have the ability to handle these things, and that's
Who's the they? Keep in mind that Joe Rogan postured super hard about people overreacting about COVID-19, but he personally was extremely paranoid about COVID-19, getting his office, like, alcohol wiped and sprayed down and having everyone super, like, vetted, you know? He was really, really paranoid about this stuff, even though he fronted that he wasn't. What are we talking, like, unable to handle it? What do you mean? What are we talking about? People don't like anti-vaxxers? What position are we talking about? Which group of people are angry?
where we find ourselves as a country right now. And it's weird because then you have that with the echo chamber aspect of social media, where everybody's just looking for positive reinforcement of their own ideas and confirmation bias. It's wild. Catch new episodes.
Nice. Absolutely nothing of use or merit was produced there. Nice. I still don't know if Jimmy Dore is an anti-vaxxer. I feel like I don't think Jimmy Dore is a particularly, how would you put it, honest or ethical person. I have the feeling that it's not a coincidence, by the way, that the quartering came out in Jimmy Dore's defense watching my stream. Damn shitlib Jimmy. What is this?
Me for going to work for the KKK, but why do we forgive money? Now, my question is, you wouldn't forgive me for going to work for the KKK, but why do we forgive people for going to work for Fox News? Because that is the most that is like not okay. That is so over the top, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no disqualification from polite society anymore. Steve Doocy and the other person with him, well, no one's going to go, hey, that racist shit I saw, because they do it every day, and now they're just accepted in mainstream culture, and people work at Fox News and then go work at normal places. And I think that we have to stop that. That's not okay that you can start your career at Fox News or go there in the middle or end up at the end and then go to CBS or go somewhere else. That's not okay. And I think we should shame people who need to make money from racist organizations like Fox News. Money. Now, my question is, you wouldn't forgive me for going to work for the KKK.
And then he's like, on Tucker Carlson. Now, technically, he's not working for Fox News, but he's certainly guest on there a lot. Was this Jimmy before the money? I don't think Jimmy believes what he's saying here any more than what he believes what he's saying now. Anyway, I don't know if, like, Jimmy Dore is an anti-vaxxer. I just think he recognizes that he can, like, kowtow to the anti-vaxxers in his audience pretty effectively and make a lot of money and get a lot of attention for that. You know what I mean? And that'll settle him just fine. The actual news segment of Fox News is not disqualifying. No, it's the punditry that's mostly the problem. The news section of Fox News is more defensible, but yeah. And of course, he goes on to speak with the pundits. You know, he doesn't go on to the news segments. It's none of it's good. It's not good. It's not good. It's altogether bad. Anyway, yeah. Just basically what you'd expect from a pairing between the two brilliant minds of Joe Rogan and Jimmy Dore. A lot of vague conspiracy meddling, you know, a lot of really indefensible statements that they don't need to defend because they just say them and then move on. Basically what you'd expect.